What kind of hat is that? I can't even see.
I gotta see the hat. I gotta see the hat.
Oh.
I gotta see Ryan's hat.
But is it Adar? Is it Adar tonight? Is it Mishna Adar tonight?
We discussed this already.
Shmuel
Because the
David,
second
you-
day
Shmuel
Shabbos, we do it on the
Shmuel
first
David,
day.
you mechaven to the Rav. Pretty good. Pretty good.
I got the same
Well-
questions.
Somebody asked me today, and I know it's in Sharm Tzionim Ba'alacha. Simon on?
Not yet.
All right. I know it's
He
in
has to make
Sharm
Abdullah
Tzionim.
first.
I'm pretty sure it's in Sharm Tzionim Ba'alacha. He discusses it. I think. But I forgot to look it up.
You know what he comes out with?
I don't remember if I knew what he comes
There's
out
always someone to be somech on that the first day you could do it when it's Erev Shabbos.
Mistama.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's always someone to be somech on.
By the way, Mishnah L'Sadam Arba Simcha goes through Nissan, including Nissan. Just letting the Olam know.
Mishanichnas Adar Marvin Benisan?
No, Marba B'Simcha, and then that Simcha
B'Nissan?
continues. Yes, 100%.
We learned
Where
this.
does that?
It came up.
Where does
We
it
learned
say
it
that?
somewhere.
Sharm Tzionim Malacha brings it. He brings it. I believe that.
You
I'll
brought
probably,
that down to us.
I don't
You
know.
brought that down to us. You told
I
us
probably
that.
texted it out one time in the halacha thing.
I think you said even goes straight till of when he Maya B'Simcha. We were discussing. Why should
Well, if you're Litvak, you might be Simcha from Nissan till Av.
weren't we discussing it once that when you're not supposed to be Maya until it turns to be Maya, then it goes even more than Nissan?
More than Av, you mean?
More than Nissan. Well, Tom is obviously supposed to be Maya B'Simcha.
Right.
So it goes all the way through there. It goes Sivan, Iyar, have the months in the right order.
Well, so far we still don't have a good source for the tefillas of the three Sifrei Torah. We're still waiting for a good source on that.
Oh, that's this week, right?
For what?
You know, everybody's making meshuggah for the three Sifrei Torah to Eis Ratzah and yada yada.
Yeah.
So far, I mean, there's one article that a rabbi quoted.
What? You talking about the special shower in Shemayim that gets open there?
Yeah. So it doesn't seem like so far anybody's really found a major. We thought it was maybe a Zohar, but he says anytime the Sefer Torah goes out. He doesn't say just three, just three.
It's not three. Psicha, you have one Sefer Torah. If you have three, you take out
Jacob,
three.
that's
Make
the
it easy.
famous voice note that goes out that says the Tolan the Rebbe says, no?
Tolan the Rebbe says it?
Yeah. Tolan the Rebbe says that the special shower in Shemayim opens up in three separate.
I know, but that's the shmua that's out there. The question is what the source is.
Oh, yeah, maybe Reb Dov heard it from him. You could ask Reb Dov.
He's here?
It says, but it's brought down from the Tolan the Rebbe.
Yeah. I hear. The big shaila is for a yeshiva that only has one Sefer Torah. Said so now you got to roll it. You got to roll to three parshas, right?
They get more of it. They get more of it.
So what do you mean yeshivas? We've got a Rav here on the line. He's got his own shul. Now he's Sifrei Torah on Harris Street.
How many you got there, Aaron? Two. Okay, so but that doesn't have the shaila. If you have one Sefer Torah, so what do? What takes precedence?
Take the one from Siach
Ein
Yitzchak.
Mavirin.
Oh, Matka's there.
Take the
Matka.
one from Siach Yitzchak, Aaron.
Wait, Aaron, you only have two Sifrei
I
Torah?
don't
Seth,
just took one.
Seth, I'm not coming to down there. Two Sifrei Torah.
Aaron, you could have it for
Seth.
free.
No, I don't want Reb David to get upset. Chas v'sholom.
Seth, two Sifrei Torah, I'm not coming to down there. Forget it.
That's
Okay. Our Sefer Torah is
when you
being
lay in
left out.
second, it's further in the row.
By the
Martha,
time
your
our minion's
cousin.
up
You
for
lay
waiting,
second.
that
He
minion
He
will
walked
be
away.
over.
He walked away. He walked away. I'll try and get it back.
I was going to tell him his cousin knows if he takes something from yeshiva, it's not for free.
I think that's what he was referring to.
That's exactly what I meant.
No, but the thing is like this. No, seriously, it's the parsha is mishpatim, right? Then shkolim is in kisisa, but you're supposed to do Rosh Chodesh first. So do you pass over the laning of kisisa to get to Pinchas and then go back? So if you only have one Sefer Torah, what's more important, Ein Mavirin or Tadir?
Rosh Chodesh is second.
Rosh
Chodesh is second.
Rosh Chodesh goes second because it's Tadir.
That's in
right?
Pinchas. So you have to pass Kisisa.
Right, then you got to go back.
That's a good call. Okay.
So what do you do? What do you do, Taka?
So there's a Mishnah Brura that says that if you by mistake, you took out three Sifrei Torah, and by mistake you brought out the Shkolim one first, and you started laning it, he says you stop laning. Even if you're in the middle of laning, you stop and you go to the Rosh Chodesh. So he clearly holds that Tadir is more important than Ein Mavirin, and that's a real Ein Mavirin. So that's basically there's a stira there, but that's basically what it comes out. So yeah, you would do mavir, and you go to Rosh, and you end up having to roll it a lot more too. Okay, Shine. Yeah.
So what do you do with one? What do you do with one?
You go to Rosh Chodesh and then back to Shkolim. You do the regular order. The regular order. All right. How are you going to do it?
What do you mean?
With two. What are you going to do? So
The second sefer, do Shkolim.
The second, what are you doing Rosh Chodesh?
The second sefer.
So you're going to do Shkolim, but you got to do Rosh Chodesh first, then you're going to have to roll it back.
Okay. So how do you do it?
No, I would tell you, see, that's good. It's a good one because you have to roll it a lot less. To go from Mishpatim to Shkolim is a lot less rolling. It's come out nothing. 2 parshias.
So use the first sefer back from Mishpatim, you're saying?
But I don't know, if you did already Hagba on it.
Can you take it out again?
You could take it out again. L'chayra, that's probably the best thing to do. That's what I would think.
And 1 second, if you only have one, you do Hag B'Glila? No, you just leave it.
No. You just roll to Rosh Chodesh and then back. A lot of rolling. Yeah.
Yeah, the Gabba, you call him sick.
Anybody want to donate to Anshe Harris to Sefer Torah?
My mother's Sefer Torah is already being given to my brother for his third Sefer Torah, to Aaron. But
what do you mean? How's he going to?
And then we're gonna get it.
Oh.
I hear.
How's
Reb Zev, Mazel Tov.
Go ahead, thank you.
Zev Bold had an anicle today.
Yeah, today.
A boy or girl? Or Reb Aaron was about. So we have an anicle. We have an anicle and an anicle on the daf. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Mazel Tov. Beautiful.
What?
The Alta Zayd over there.
Alta Zayd over here.
Yeah. Vada, Baruch Hashem. Asach Nachas, continue Nachas.
Don't call him Alta, he'll blow up at you.
Noilet Zachar is Nisrapa Kol Mishpacha. Bez Hashem, it should be a Besura
Amen.
Torah.
It's a Kitchen Shulchan
Yeah.
Like a Hebrew Jew.
Rav Aaron, on behalf of the
Regular
daf, we're upset that you couldn't get the robe to match the hat, but that's why there's a second day of Rosh Chodesh.
How does the Sefer Torah come here?
See how quick Amazon's gonna be.
How's the Sefer Torah coming from here?
They're going to carry. I don't care.
You don't hold it.
It's not for me. It's them. Okay, Zok the Mishnah, yeah?
Naftali's worried about the Sefer Torah.
So pay Aleph on the base by the Mishnah. Another not so action-packed daf. Okay,
great.
I have to cover myself and say, Anyway, so Zok the Mishnah.
Yeah, especially Marchuk's on there.
I know I have to make sure. Yeah. So Nitma Shalem. Actually, it's a little bit interesting. A little bit. It's the end of the Mishnah. The last line of the Mishnah is Gavaldik, right?
I was just going to say the parrot can take his finger off the mute button.
Yeah. So Nitma Shalem Irubai. So if
Yaakov,
yeah,
the cheap guys, you have 2 fundraisers on this.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. Okay, let's not leave the oilam in suspense. What we're talking about. So anyway, Nitma Shalem Irubai. So if the whole animal became tamei, or roiv if it became tamei, sarfa noisel lefnei habira, you have to burn it in front of the birah, right? The birah was in the Beis Hamikdash. Me'atzei hamaracha, from the wood that's that normally goes on the mizbeach. The wood that's specifically meant to burn things on the mizbeach. So you take it from that. Nitma meyutai, but if only part of the
Atzei hamaracha means the wood that's supposed to go on, or you're supposed to take it off the mizbeach.
I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if that's one or the same or the. I wasn't sure. You have a pshat? I thought either one, but I don't know.
No, Atzei Maracha sounds like the Maracha was the fire on the Mizbeach. That was the name of the fire.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
But I don't think you burn it on. You don't burn it on the Mizbeach, though.
No, but you take some burning wood off the Mizbeach.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Yeah, okay, I hear that. Nitma miyutai. If only part of the animal became tamei, nosar and nosar, anything that got left over. Sofer nosar b'chatzrei seyin oyel gagei seyin. Me'atzei atzmon. They have to burn it in their own yards and their own roofs from their own wood. Chatzei konin, but the cheap people, sofer nosar lefnei abira, but they go in front of the Beis Hamikdash. They're too cheap to buy the wood. So the cheap guys are allowed to come into the Beis Hamikdash, and they're allowed to use the wood from the Beis Hamikdash, right? Like the guys that don't make a coffee at home, because why should they make a coffee at home? They can drink the coffee in the shul.
Why
right?
are we giving a special dispensation for somebody who's a cheapskate?
It's a good question.
Why can't it say poor people? Why do they say cheap? Why can't they say poor people?
Because it's cheap people. It's not talking about poor people. It's talking about cheap people.
Yeah.
The guy.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but the reason is not a
Naftali-
good reason.
Naftali, the mission says cheap. The guy can have a hedge fund, but he's cheap. There's nothing to do with poor.
I hear what he's saying, Naftali, meaning if you want to say that there's a dispensation for somebody to use it, so why do you have to come and make fun of the cheap people? That's what Naftali is saying, I think. He's saying, why do you got to start with the cheap people?
Why is it if a person says he doesn't want to give a korban, will we give him a way out? What do you mean?
Right. You're right. It's a good
if
question.
If a guy says, I don't want to give, you have to give a chatas. No, I don't want to give a chatas. It's too much to the animal. So what? All of a sudden the Mishna, I don't understand.
Yeah, that's right. But there's a bigger kasha. Why isn't that called being nene from hektish?
Yeah.
How can you do that?
Yeah,
First, it's a double kasha. It's Taisva's kasha. The bottom Taisva. How can you do that? First of all, the Gemara is going to say, why do we want them to burn it in Berabim? To embarrass them that their korban became tamei. So we want to embarrass them, so they have to burn it in public, which is also an interesting din. I guess tonight's stuff is a shtickle interesting. I'm taking it back, at least the beginning.
Why do we want to embarrass them?
Correct. So you want to embarrass them because you want to make sure they don't do that anymore. Fine.
That's what Taisa say.
The Taisa says, and it's a big rule that's called Leiv Bezdin Masna Aleim. Bezdin made a Tanai that's what the hektish is for. Right? Bezdin, the Leiv of the Bezdin is Masna, makes a Tanai that for these situations you're allowed to, it's not hektish. It's not hektish. When do we use this Tanai? You go into the white shul, let's say. Now, why am I saying white shul? Because the main shul is meant for davening. It's a legit pesach knesset. Nobody does anything in there, kimat, other than you're supposed to daven. So there's really no heter to talk in there at all, right? Beis Medrash is more mekel. Pesach knesset, any shul like that, or even a Beis Medrash, all these things that we do in Beis Medrash, you drink, some people take naps and whatever. How are you allowed to do that? The answer is because Leiv Bezdin Masna on these shuls is that they're making a Tanai that it's not really a Pesach Knesset. It's a multi-purpose room that happens to be used 99% of the time as a shul. That's why they make chasanas in there. That's why they can have drushes in there, even though it's a Pesach Knesset. That's the rule.
You have to make that tonight when it's built or when.
No, you should know. You should make the Tanai, but if you don't, this rule of Leiv Bezdin Masna Aleim is it's like a built-in Tanai that this is what.
So we're good to talk.
Yes, we're good. I didn't say that.
Good.
I didn't say that. Yeah.
You're good. Some shuls.
How long go like this? You're good, comma, to talk. Yeah. What are you saying?
I think some shuls have the exact opposite Leiv Bezdin Masna Aleim. They're bad some social halls, but Bezdin was Masna Aleim that they're also allowed to daven.
How does that answer? Leiv Masna?
So Leiv Bezdin is Masna on the wood of the Mizbeach, that it's meant for the cheap people and for the people that are make it tummy that they're going to be embarrassed.
So let's get back to why are we giving a guy a heter here?
Oh, so why? No, that's a different thing. So why are we giving a guy a heter? That's a different. That's.
Yaakov, I sent you the makar for the 3 Sefer Torah.
Okay, thank you.
Why are you giving the heter?
What? Well, we'll see on let's see on an Aleph. Maybe it'll answer it. I'm not so sure it answers it, but let's see. So talking about my time. Why do you have to burn it in the Beis Hamikdash? In order that they should be embarrassed.
Zev, because
Go ahead.
Pesach, whole Klal Yisrael is in Yerushalayim, and they don't want to be fights. They want to be ba'achdus. So they take care of everybody, with everybody's psychological problems. It's one big family, Pesach, and you take care of everybody. That's why you have big chaburas, and that's why everybody brings the korban Pesach, whether that in Betumah, because it's the whole tzibah, it's the one family of Eden. So, guy's cheap, he's cheap, but you don't want him not to do a mitzvah because he's cheap.
So we'll embarrass him.
Embarrassing is in front of his family. It's not embarrassing. It's all one family. It's not embarrassing.
I hear. Okay, I hear that shot. I hear.
The
Okay, let's see.
beauty, I was
Are
thinking
you
about
saying
that by
that family
Chagiga.
can't be embarrassed in front of family, Rabbiner? Is that we can ask Rav this?
I'm going to ask you, Aaron, negate Yaakov.
Maybe parrots. Aaron.
Erickson.
It's okay. We can go either way.
F fakat.
I was about to say, you just stepped in a mind zone.
Okay, anyways, weiter. So
But I like
Nitma.
the Vart. The Vart, I was thinking about this when the Gemara before brought back Chagiga. The korban Chagiga could be any animal, even a bed bucker.
Right.
A steer is a lot of meat. When you're talking about it's you're adding to the chabura. The chabura for korban pesach was already a big chabura. The
Right.
chagiga that has to be finished that day, you're talking about 14 of those chaburas for pesach getting together for Yom Tov Suda. That's what Chazal wanted.
Very good. Very good, Taka. Very good. Very good. Okay. Good. Nitma miyutai. So if a part of it is tamei, so then what? You burn it in your own house. Uramino eskastira, right from a Gemara that we had before. Somebody left Yerushalayim. And he remembers that he had in his hand Basar Kodesh. Im Avar Tzofim. So if he already passed Hara Tzofim, right? Sarfai b'Mekayma, he just burns it where he is Vim Lav, and if not, on Tamid Aleph now. Chayzer v'Sarfa lifnei Birah me'atzam haroch. He goes and he burns it in front of the Beis Hamikdash from the Atzei Hamarocha. So you see that you have to go back and burn it, right? Even if it's a miyat, you got to go back to the Beis Hamikdash. What is this Mishna saying that you burn it at home and you burn it from your own wood, right? So Amar Rav Chama Baruch v'Lekasha kan b'achsanoi kan b'balabayis. One is talking about a guest and one is talking about a balabayis, right? Where he's a guest, so he's schlepping his own wood. He doesn't have the wood. So Mamela, he doesn't live in Yerushalayim. He traveled from overseas to come. So since he traveled from overseas to come, so then he can go back and use the wood by the Beis Hamikdash. But a balabayis doesn't have any reason. He lives local, so let him use his own wood. No, they're both talking about a guest. One is talking about where you were machzik in the derech, meaning he already was on his way, and kanchaloi hichzik b'derech. So if he was hichzik b'derech, they weren't matriach him to go back for wood, right? So that's the second shot.
Why isn't this Gemara a raya to the Rishonim who hold that Malacha and Chalamayid is not Asur Midaraisa?
Okay, okay. I can't think I was thinking about that kasha. Yeah. Why? Because you're going back.
You're carrying back to the Beis Hamikdash to burn it.
I don't know. They might say it's
carrying. It's not a tzarich mitzvah. It's not. Burn it where you are.
I hear. I don't know. Maybe I would think that they're just going to say that's a tzarich. So maybe you're allowed to.
If it's a tzarich, why is it just the kaitzanim in the Mishna that burn it by the Atzmei Rafa? Everyone should go. I mean, that's why the Gemara has to say Kedei Levaisham. That's him. Everyone should burn it by the Atzmei Rafa. That's the mitzvah.
Right.
No. Why do you say that?
What do you mean? Huh? What's that? What do you say? That it's a mitzvah for what?
What you're really supposed to do is Chayzu v'Sayfel L'fnei Birah. That's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
But I mean, at least according to the second reason here.
No,
it's not a dispensation for
Gershon, most people burn by the house. Most people, it's not nitma ruba, it's nitma little piece. They had 3 kazesim left.
No, 100%. I'm saying this could be an answer to Zev's kasha before. It's not a dispensation for kaitzanim. The Atzem, what you're supposed to do is burn it l'fnei abira with atzei marach. Chazal told you specifically, that's the first line of the Gemara, is Kedei Levaishon. What the my timer wasn't, why did they do it there? Why do they not have to go back? Chazal said specifically, you don't have to go back to the Beis Hamikdash to burn it. Kedei Levaishon. That's why. But Ba'atzim, you're supposed to use the Atzei Marach. It's kodshim. You use kodshim to burn kodshim.
Okay, here. I don't know.
No. What you kodshim in your house, Gershom, where you had one kazayas left and one bone? Why? That's also kodshim. You burn it in your backyard.
Yeah, Kedei Levaishon. Bad Sam, you should go back. Because I'll
not
said,
Levaish, not the Kedei Levaishon.
I'm not sure.
It's not the Kedei
Where?
Levaishon. The guy couldn't finish the korban pesach. What? It's not Levaishon.
that's what Gemara said, no?
Well, the Vaishon is for the Tumah. No?
Oh,
Is it the-
that's Mami Yutzai. Nosar.
Nicer. You have to
No,
burn
but nicer, you
nicer.
burn in your own chutzah.
You burn in your
Nicer,
own
you don't.
yard. You're burning your own yard.
Am I missing something here? Oyel Gagisei, Matzei Atzman, but Hatzikon and Surf Nesil of Neabir.
Right.
That's talking about Nitzma Miyutzai Vahanoisar. The Gemara says,
Right, but
what's
that's
my
the
timer?
tzikonim we let them. The tzikonim we let them do it because they're
Yeah.
cheapskates. But really, it should be done in the house. No.
What's the first kash of the Gemara? The my timer. Amr B'Yossi Bar Chanina K'dei Levaisha. That's why they burn it by their house. No.
No. That's why they burn the base.
That's why they go back.
The ratio. Yeah, I think that's why I understood it. I hope so. Although we go back and doing the daf again. I think so. All right, you'll think about it. Let's go back to you. See, please let me know if that's not the shot. Yeah. Okay. Rav Zvira Amar Lo'ilam Kedom Meikora. Really, it's what we said in the beginning. Kam b'achsanya, kam balabayis. One is by an achsanya, one is by a balabayis. V'afal gav deloy hichzik b'derech, even though he was not on the way. But achsanoi kivan de leslu asokit saikonin. Since a guest doesn't have wood, so he's like the tzikonim. He's like the cheap guys. The tanana tzikonin sarfa noisel lefnei abira b'shvil lehones me'atzeim arocha. So we make him like the tzikonin. So meaning the guest has also a special, what do you call it? A special heter based on the cheap people, right? Right. So therefore, it's what do you call it? Meaning, if he's so cheap, right? Yeah, that he's gonna be willing to burn it in front of everybody in the Beis Hamikdash. That means he needs a heter, Zev. I think that's really answers you. That's the way the guy, right? That it means the guy's so much sugar, right? Meaning, if it's more than a kazayas, then everybody. I mean, if it's rive of the animal, everybody has to go back to the Beis Hamikdash. This guy, it's a miyut. And he still wants to bring it back to the Beis Hamikdash and embarrass himself. If that's the case, I'm a shugana. He deserves a thing. That's what, yeah. I think I saw that in the article. I'm not sure, but that's what I think today. That he says that. Okay. Anyways, Tana Rabbanon. Yeah.
I have a limit schus, but by Yitzchak Avinu, Pesach was the same day as Yom Kippur when he had Yaakov Avinu bring him the Gedi. That was to do a korban, but it was also Yom Kippur for him. That's a whole shmooze in the, as they said, it's from kodshim. They pulled the iris of different. So he had Yom Kippur and Pesach together. So this Yid also wants to do tshuva in front of Lifnayam Ve'eda.
Okay, he wants busha. He wants a little busha.
Yeah.
Okay, I hear. He's a Navardika.
Right.
Exactly.
Can't be more Navardica than that.
That's right. I mean, not out Navardic than Navardica. Okay, so Tana Rabbanon. Let's say he wants to go. He goes to burn it in his chatzar and from the Atzem Meracha. So basically, what he wants to do is he wants to take the wood and bring it home. He wants to take the wood of the Beis Hamikdash and bring it home. Ain't shaymin lehen. Ain't shaymin. We don't listen. We don't allow that.
So not only is he a cheap guy, he wants
to be the cheap guy and not be embarrassed. Right? He wants to take the wood from the Beis Hamikdash and bring it home. Right? A real cheverman. Lifnei habira, but in front of the biro me'atzei atzman. Now this guy ain't a cheap guy. This guy wants to be embarrassed and wants to do it in front of everybody, but he wants to bring his own wood. Ain't shaymin. We don't listen to him either. So bishlam me'atzei merocha b'chatzrei saying ain't shaymin and duma paishan minayu. Possibly lidei takola, because perhaps he's going to use too much wood. And he's going to end up the lidei takol. He's using hektish for no reason. My time alone. Why can't you do it in the Beis Hamikdash and bring your own wood? So Rabbi Yosef Amar Shalei Levayish just Misha Ein. The first is because we don't want to embarrass anybody, right? Here now we're saying that now we're looking out for him. Till now we're embarrassing him. Now we're saying no. if nobody could bring their own wood, because then say some guy doesn't have his own wood, he's going to be embarrassed. So therefore, everybody has to use the wood of the tzibur. Rav Amar, that's Rabbi Yosef's shot. Rav Amar b'nei chashad, it's because of chashad, right? So then people, because chashad is pshat that people are going to bring their wood, and then you bring your wood home after if it didn't get burnt, right? You bring 10 pieces of wood, your korban gets burnt with 3-4 pieces. What are you going to do? Bring your wood home. Everybody's going to think you're stealing wood from the Beis Hamikdash.
But if anyone's doing it, you know what the deal is.
No, the people are not going to say, hey, look at that guy, he's scamming the wood from the Beis Hamikdash. My beinayo, what's the difference between the two tirut? Can somebody bring like junky pieces of wood, kindling as they call it, the loy chazi l'maracha, which it's not really, you can't really put it on the maracha. All right. So according to Rava, there's no chashad, so we can let him use it. According to Rabbi Yosef, there still might be bush if somebody doesn't have his own wood. Fine.
This stuff is pretty cheap. Why would there be a shot of Leviash if this stuff is the cheap stuff anyways?
Maybe the guy didn't have access. I don't know. Maybe he didn't have access. I guess. I don't know. I hear I hear you, Kasha. Right? It's cheap. I don't know if it means it's cheap. It's just wood that's not normally meant to go on the mizbeach. Right?
Maybe this is another reason for the tzikanim, the dispensation. That we also, for this reason, we allowed the tzikanim, the really cheap guys, because the people who Taka had nothing had to go back. They would be busha. Yeah. Now the tzikanim, we allow them to do it. Okay, some people can do it. Maybe you're tzika, maybe you're poor, maybe whatever.
Okay, I hear. All right, I don't know. But okay, the kash is better than the teretz, that's for sure. Yeah. Okay. So Tanan Hassam, another Mishnah about this. Rosh HaMaimed, the head of the Maimed, right? So there was always groups of Kehanim that stood over all the korbanos. So the Rosh HaMaimed, Maimed as a tamei and al shara mizrach, he would be Maimed all the Kehanim that were tamei. On the Rashi says in the Shar HaMizrachi Knisas Kaladam Larabayas, to stand them up there. Even though they couldn't participate because they were tamei, but he stood them all up there. So my time, in order to embarrass them. This is the same Rabbi Yosef before who didn't want to embarrass people that didn't have wood. Here he wants to embarrass them. Seems like they were not very happy if you got tamei around the Beis Hamikdash.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, if it was forgetting Yom Tov, but a regular week. That was the only week the guy worked the whole year, those 2 weeks,
You're saying, and
so he should have watched himself. That's what you only come to Beis Hamikdash for 2 weeks the whole year. So how do you let yourself become tamei?
Right, I hear. Okay, so that's all right. And Rava says mipnei chashad. It's because of chashad. What happened? I just lost the place. Yeah. What's the
like the Esrig Moicha that they got corona this year? Those guys. Yes. Just in time for just between Rosh Hashanah and
you gotta wonder, right? So anyways, the reason why the Rava says the reason why he lined them up is because they were afraid that they were just not chickening out. They were just not doing their work. So he lined them up so everybody could see that they're there and they're just tamei, right? So my funky. If they're mifunakim, meaning people of the mifunakim, it's a nice word or not a nice word for koil, right? People that don't work. So if they don't work, nobody's going to be chashed that they're taking off from their kayin duties in order to go work because they're mifunakim. Inami the kagadol shishura, or it's talking about somebody who does ropes for a living, somebody who braids ropes for a living, that nobody's going to think that you're taking off from the Beis Hamikdash to be Isaac in that business. Right? No, there's no chashad for that whatsoever. Okay, those are the two. The nafkaminas between Rabbi Yosef and Rav. Fine. Talk to Mishnah. Pesach sheyatza ashenitma, the Pesach that went out of the Beis Hamikdash. I'm sorry, out of Yerushalayim. Right? Although some say, right, the Rav says that it's talking about it went out of the house that it was being eaten in, because the Pesach can only be eaten in one house. Right? You can't go. There's no Pesach hopping. Right, on Pesach, you got to keep it in one house. So it's either the house or what do you call it? Out of the Beis Hamikdash. Aisha nitma or became tamei, yisaraf miyad. So if the korban itself became tamei, it gets burned immediately. Nitmu habaylim, but if the owners became tamei, Aisha mesu, or they died, tuber tzurasai, then what you do is your ma'ab literally means we had this a bunch of times before. Your ma'abra the tzura. The tzura means its form, and you pass it over, meaning you wait for it to get nosar, and then v'yisar b'shisha, so you burn it on the 16th. No, there's nobody to eat it. If the bailim become tamei, so then there's no point in waiting around and make it nicer. Just burn it right away. Fine. So exactly Gemara or frekti Gemara bishlam tamei. So we know tamei iksiva basar sheyiga b'chol tamei lo yochel be'esh yisarif. That's a beferish pasuk. Any basar that became tamei, you're not allowed to eat it, and you got to burn it. How do we know if the korban pesach goes out? How do we know that gets burned too? This is going on the story with what do you call it? By the Mishkan, when they meyased the Mishkan, right? So that's when Nadav and Avihu died for being side of the korban. So it was a whole back and forth between Aaron and Moshe. Why exactly did they do it? Did they burn it? They burn the korban. So the chsiv hein lehuvas dama ela kodesh pnima. Right? Moshe Rabbeinu says, right, if the blood was never brought inside to the Beis Hamikdash, meaning Amar la Moshe la Aaron. Moshe told Aaron, Madu la yachaltem es achatas. Why didn't you eat the chatas? Meaning, why did you burn it? Shemen nichnas dama lefnayim lefnim. Maybe what happened was the blood went inside. Right? The Rosh Chodesh, this is talking about Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh, the korban stays on the outside, doesn't go inside. So maybe, if it does go inside, it makes it puzzle. So maybe that's what happened. Amaloi lav. No, that's not what happened. Amaloi shema chutz michitzas. So maybe it went out of the chotzer. Amaloi lav b'kodesh. I said no, it stayed in the kodesh. So amaloi ibe kodesh. I said vehein lai huvas dam el kodesh penima. So if it stayed in the kodesh and you never brought the blood inside, matu aloi achaltem. I saw. Why didn't you eat it? Right? Meaning, why did they burn it? Fine. Then the Gemara is going to do weiter what we'll see weiter in the Amud Beis, why they didn't eat it. But whatever it is, they didn't eat it. Well, what do you see from the story? Mechlal di nafka, if it went out, inami ayel damal lefnim basreifi. You see that if it went out of the kodesh, then you burn the korban. And if the blood went inside, which is not what we're discussing here, then it's also sreifa. So you see beferish that if the korban leaves the Beis Hamikdash or wherever the mechitzas that it's supposed to be in, it gets burned. So then Gemara asks, Bishlam and Nitma, Gali Rachmana B'Kodshim Kalim. By tamei, the Torah is talking about kodshim kalim. Like the korban pesach, shlomim, those are all kodshim kalim. Kol came by kodshim. So Avada by kodshim. But by Yaitza, where it leaves the Beis Hamikdash, Ashkechan, or the Mishkan, or wherever it is, or the Chatzar, Ashkechan, kodshim. That pasuk is referring to kodshim kalim in Allah. And how do you know that it's kodshim kalim? Meaning, if you have to burn kodshim doesn't mean that you have to burn kodshim kalim, right? Meaning, if there's something like kodshim kalim, that means the lighter kodshim, and you have to burn it. So then you're going to know kol shekein kodshim. But if you know that kodshim have to be burned, that doesn't tell you kodshim kalim. Maybe they have less of a standard. Somebody nolan. How do you know basu? Another question. How did Tanya Londama, if the blood went overnight, right? The blood has to be thrown on the mizbeach that day. Nishpach dama on tamei beis, or the blood was spilled. Yotza dama, or the blood went out. Chutz l'klayim, outside of the curtains. The kaimelam b'sreifa. Well, we know that you have to burn it. So we nolan. How do you know? So we say nafkala min Reb Shimon. We learn that from Reb Shimon. The tiny Reb Shimon noimer b'kodesh be'esh tisarif. It says b'kodesh you should be burned with fire. Limit al chatas. Shesreifasa b'kodesh teaches us that a chatas, that its sreifa is b'kodesh, meaning in the Beis Hamikdash. Ainly ala bilvad, right? Only maybe that's only by chatas. Shar psuli kodshim emuri kodshim kalim minayin. How about the other types of kodshim? Tamaloymar b'kodesh b'esh tisaref. You burn it by kodesh b'esh tisaref. You burn it in fire. Fine. So ashkon kodshim kalim is the same question. This is all referring to kodshim. Right, so ashkechon kodshim kalim inol, and how about kodshim kalim? Ella kol psuli b'kodesh b'sreifa. So we say any psul of kodesh gets burned. Loishna kodshim kalim, loishna kodshim. So how do we know it? Gemara, Gemirila, like we had yesterday, it's a halacha l'Moshe Sinai. V'chatas ta'aron. Okay, so then what about the whole story back and forth of Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron? Chatas ta'aron b'shem ma'aseh shehaya kach haya. It's telling us the ma'aseh shehaya, but we don't learn anything out from that. The reason why the Torah was telling that to us is just to tell us the story. Okay, but we really know it from halacha l'Moshe Sinai, which is very interesting. Comes out there's a story in the Chumash that's a back and forth. We're not learning it out from that. We're learning it out from halacha l'Moshe Sinai. Right? It's very interesting that the Gemara chooses to say that, right? Which we seemingly have pesukim that are talking about by kodshim, and you can learn it out from that. And then we say no, it's halacha l'Moshe Sinai. Fine. Yeah.
Mr. Yaakov, do you have an idea of what halacha l'Moshe Sinai is?
Do I have an idea?
Yeah. I mean, he was there for 40 days, yeah?
Right.
So he learned the Kol Torah Kula, and then and halacha l'Moshe Sinai is also part of Torah Kula, so he learned that also. But it's stuff that wasn't good enough to make it into the Chumash, it was better than the Chumash.
Oh, I don't know if it was better than the Chumash. You gotta check the Rambam's Hakdama to the what I think he discusses it. Believe me, I'll try. If I remember, I'll look. He discusses. There's even an art scroll on the art scroll Hakdama. You know that new Sefer art scroll came out with the Hakdama to Shas or whatever it is. Very good. So in there they have the Hakdama to the Rambam. Yeah, I think he discusses it there. I believe now I'll try and check. There's one in my little closet in Yeshiva Farakwa that I daven it. My Rebbe's closet. So yeah. Anyways, Latana devei Rabba Baravua the Amar afilu pigul tan ibor. So now's a new thing. So pigul, right? Remember what pigul was? Pigul is when somebody's being mocked of the korban, the kohen's being mocked of the korban, and he has in mind that he's not going to eat it in the proper time, or he's not going to eat it in the proper place. So l'chara that becomes pasul right away. So do you have to wait to make it nosar, or do you burn it right away? So Latana devei Rabba Baravua the Amar afilu pigul. Even pigul, which is the biggest chumrah, it's a chiv karis if you eat pigul. Tan ibur tzura, you still need to be ma'aber the tzura. Minalan, how do you know? It's a yalef avain min nosar. V'neilef avain mechatas ta'aron. No, so we learn out oven from nosar, and you learn out oven from mechatas ta'aron. So you have to. So you need. That's how you know that you need to wait. You can't just burn it right away. Amar lach chatas ta'aron ki agavna nami ibur tzura l'dairas bai. Right, if you're saying that, right, so the korban chatas by Aaron, then you're going to have to say that it also needs Iber Tzura, v'hasam hayra shah hisa. And there it was a hayra shah, right? So meaning that was a temporary thing, and you're taking it and you're learning out that it should be forever, that pigul or any type of these psulim need Iber Tzura, right? Okay, but that's so that's what he's saying. So now the Gemara says, Hashtam rina kol psuli de kodesh b'sreifa. Now that we say that any psul of kodesh is burned, loishna the kodshim kodshim kalim, Gemara gemiri lana talach l'moshe mesina, but kodesh beish tisarif lameli. So we said on Amud Aleph that we know that kodesh gets burned in fire. What do you need that pasuk for? It's all halach l'moshe mesina that anytime any korban becomes tamei, it gets burned. So you say ahumi ba'le straight fasa b'kodesh. No, but there it's telling us, the pasuk's telling you have to burn it in the Beis Hamikdash. That's what the chiddush is of the pasuk. Then the Gemara says, right? The basar that touches any tamei, don't eat it. What do you need that pasuk for? You have to burn it. There you need it for itself. Any psul kodesh, kagain lon dama. If the blood got left overnight, or the blood got spilled, so you have to pick it up and you can't put it on the mizbeach anymore. Dama, and the blood goes out. Or if you shech the korban at night, which is not allowed. Sreifa, that all of them get sreifa, the less nu chulin. But these doesn't apply to chulin. Aval nitma, right? The chulin nami mifsal, but something that becomes tamei, that's even a problem for chulin, right? And therefore, once chulin becomes tamei, it can't become hektish anymore. Since it already became like a mundane thing. Right? So so then I would think that it doesn't need sreifa, and it needs kvura. Kamash malan. So the Gemara is teaching us no, right? That any korban, even that became tamei, is going to need burning. right? Even though theoretically chulin also becomes tamei, so it doesn't have the same kedusha. But no, it's not anything. Even if it becomes tamei, you still have to burn it. Fine. So what do we say? That if the owners, if there becomes a psul in the owners, not a psul in the korban, so you don't burn it right away, you wait till it becomes nice and then you burn it. Some Rav Yosef, machlokes shenitmu bailim achar zrika. The whole machlokes, meaning because in the Mishna it's a machlokes Rav Yochanan and Nuri in the Tanakama, whether you burn it right away or not. So that Rav Yosef is saying the machlokes is only shenitmu bailim achar zrika. That's only when the owners became tamei after you already sprinkled the blood on the mizbeach. This chazi basar la'achila, because the basar can be eaten. But if the owners became tamei before the blood was sprinkled on the mizbeach, the layis chazi basar la'achila, that the basar is not eaten because it was tamei before the blood got thrown onto the mizbeach. Divrei hakol yisar miyad. So everybody holds you have to burn it right away. Right. So again, the machlokes is only if they became tamei after the blood was on the mizbeach. What do you say?
It keeps on saying the Mishnah Gemara Yisarif Miyad. When you can't burn it, you can burn it on Yontif. It said before.
No, you're right. It's a good point. It's talking about Yudalid. You're right. If it gets burned 100% Rabbanan, it's good that you pointed it out. Yes. When it says Yisarif Miyad, that if it became tamei on Yudalid, you burn it right away. But if not, very good. If it became tamei Pesach by night, then in a chanami, you can't burn it. Right. We're going to see that weiter. But yes, a very good point. Thank you. Yeah, shkoyach. So meisvei. So we ask a kasha on this. Klal kol shepsule begufa yisod miyad. It says the rule is that if it's psul in the guf, meaning the actual korban became puzzle, it gets burned right away. Bedamu b'bailim. But if the blood or the owners to uber tzurase, b'yotzel beis hasreifa, and it goes out to the beis hasreifa. Katani bailim dumu yedadam, and we learn that the owners gets compared to blood. Ma dam lefnei zrika. Just like dam is before zrika, af bailam lefnei zrika. Even the bailam is lefnei zrika. So you see that we compare it, and it's all before zrika, not after zrika, right? Meaning everybody would agree that it's lefnei zrika. So how can you say that the whole machlokes by us in the Mishna is lefnei zrika? Elayit marachiyot. We're going to change it around. This is what it meant to say. Machlokes shedidu bailam lefnei zrika. The whole machlokes, whether you burn it right away, as if the owners became tamei before the throwing of the blood on the mizbeach. The lo yischazi basar la'achila, because the basar is not roi la'achila. The havelei kapsule begufay, because it's as if it was possible in the gufa. Nitmu bailam la'achar zrika. But if the bailam became tamei after the zrika, the yischazi basar la'achila, that the basar is right to be eaten. Divrei hakol psuloi machmas davar achar ubay iber tzura. So everybody holds that that's considered psuloi machmas davar achar, right? And therefore, it needs iber tzura, because whenever it becomes tamei machmas davar achar, it needs iber tzura. Fine. For Rabbi Yochanan Amar, so now we go back. For Rabbi Yochanan Amar, afla achar zrika nami machlokes. Rabbi Yochanan disagrees. He says even after the zrika, it's also machlokes whether it has to be burned right away. But Rabbi Yochanan the tamei, and Rabbi Yochanan goes according to his pshat. The Amar Rabbi Yochanan said Rabbi Yochanan ben Breika, but Rabbi Nechemia Amru davar echad. Rabbi Yochanan ben Breika and Rabbi Nechemia say the same thing. Yochanan ben Breika had Amaron, right? Rabbi Yochanan ben Breika in our Mishna, who said that you have to burn it right away. That we already said. Rabbi Nechemia Ma'hi, what's the Rabbi Nechemia? The time Rabbi Nechemia Amar b'nei Aninos Nisafrazu. Meaning, why was Aaron going back to the story with Moshe and Aaron, Nadav and Avihu? Why was it burned? So that's a big machlokes why it was burned. So some say Rabbi Nechemia said the reason was because they were einin him, right? Yeah, because Aaron Akayin was an einin because Nadav and Avihu died, right? An einin can't do an einin can't be korbanos. An einin can't do anything.
There was only 3 kahanim. They were all einin.
Right. All the kahanim were einin. Lakach nemar ke'ela. Right, that's why it says not ko'ela. I mean, I guess it is ko'ela, but from the cholamai. Yeah, song of the daf. Very good, but that's not that ko'ela. But it's fine. It's good enough. Right, so lakachnema ko'ela. That's why it says ko'ela. So then the Gemara says va'aninos kilachar zrika havi. Aninos is like after zrika. Right, istarif la'alter is the starif, and when it got burned right away, yeah. So that's That's a pshat. That's what Rabbi Yochanan is saying. That's what Reb Nechemi is saying, right? So therefore, it gets burned right away. Yeah, they burned it right away. So therefore, he holds that even a psul not in the guf becomes a sreifa miyad. Fine. Now on top of it, Aleph Rabba Moisef. Rabba adds on Afra Rabbi Yossi HaGalili. He said even Rabbi Yossi HaGalili holds that you burn the meat right away. The Tanya Rabbi Yossi HaGalili Omer Kol Inyan Kuloi Eina Medaber Ela B'Parim HaNisrafim V'V'Seirim HaNisrafim. This whole Inyan is only talking about parim that get burned and the goats that get burned. Lisra Psulein Abeis Abira, and that's to burn the soul of those korbanos in the Beis Hamikdash. Relitin loises al achilas, and to give you a loises if somebody eats it when it's supposed to be burned, he gets a loises on the achila. Right? So Amruloi, so they said to him, Chatas shenichnas dabel lefnai v'lefnim minayin. How do you know that a korban chatas that goes lefnai v'lefnim, right? Meaning into the kodesh kodshim. How do you know? How do you know what the din is there? Right? What did he say? What did Moshe say to Aaron? The blood was not brought inside. But if it went outside, or the blood went inside the fnai of him, then besreifa, it's besreifa, and besreifa immediately. Right? Okay, so Rabba's saying that even Rabbi Yossi HaGalili holds that it gets burned right away. Okay, and Rabbi Yochanan, how come Rabbi Yochanan didn't want to say that Rabbi Yossi HaGalili says that Rabbi Yossi HaGalili is also part of that? Rabbi Yochanan said, "Dama basar chadam milsahi, bailam milsachridi." You can't compare blood and basar is one thing, owners is another thing. You can't compare the two. Rabbi Yossi HaGalili is talking about basar, right? But he's not. Who says that he would say that it gets burned right away if the soul goes in the bailam? Okay, let's start this Gemara, but we have to start. We can't go all the way to the bottom because it's a whole long sugya, so we'll have to do most of it tomorrow. As Hashem. Okay, so Zok the Mishnah. Hatzamas, bones, v'hagidin, and how do you call it? Sinews, right? V'hanosar and nosar yisrafu b'shisha asar. You burn it on the 16th. Those are all the things that you can't eat from the korban pesach, right? And we're going to see that the bones. It's scary about a korban pesach because if you break the bones, you chai malchus. Right? So you burn on the 16th. Chal tezayin lias b'Shabbos. Let's say the 16th falls out on Shabbos. Yisru b'Yudzayin. You burn it on the 17th. Right, Rabban, as we pointed out before. These burning nosar is not daicha, not Shabbos, and not Yom Tov. So Zakti Gemara Amar Ramari Baravu Amar Rabbi Yitzchak Atzamis kodshim sheshimshu nosar tamei seyadayim. The bones that are attached to the nosar, they're metame. Nosar, if something is nosar, it makes the person's hands tamei. So what about the bones that are attached? Let's say you have some extra meat, right? Let's say you weren't able to bite down all the way to the bone, so you have a little extra meat on the bone, right? So really, only the meat is nosar. The bones are not nosar. So Ramari Baravu is saying b'shem Rabbi Yitzchak that it's still the bones get the status of nosar. It becomes a base, like in muksa, it becomes a base for something that's osir. It's holding on to the meat, even though the bone itself, there's no nosar on bones. But since there's meat on the bone, so memela, the bone becomes a basis for the bone. Name it say, let's say it's a proof. The bones and the gidim and the nosar get burned on the 16th. What are we talking? What kind of bones are we talking about? If it has no mayach in it, how do you call it? Marrow? Why do you need to burn it? Nashtinu. Just get the mayach out of there. Right? Meaning the bone itself is not edible. The mayach is edible, right? Elapshita, this bu mayach. It must be talking about where there is marrow in it. So if you're going to say that the bone of the nosar. What?
How do you get the marrow?
On a regular korban, you break the bone.
No, the korban pesach.
No, we're not talking about korban pesach.
Okay.
Right? No, I'm sorry, we are talking about the pesach. No, but if there's mayach, right?
Break it.
No, so that's why you have to burn the bone. That's why you got to burn the bone for the pesach. But the other korbanos, no. Other ones you just
can't have the marrow from a korban pesach.
You can.
How you can?
Oh, I mean, how are you getting it out? You're right. If there happens to be a hole in the bone, I guess you can get it out.
See, Yaakov,
Right.
I just thought,
Yeah. Go
I
ahead.
just thought of it. Why don't you say Esther says he has an essay to eat the korban pesach? So why should we do the lava of Loisishbaru? I just thought of it. I have no idea if it makes sense.
The Gemara on Amud Beis is going to discuss Esther Deichel say with this, but you can eat a different part of the korban pesach. I mean, if you're talking about if the guy is the last. You're gonna tell if the last bit of korban pesach left is the marrow.
One guy ate too much. Now
Right.
all that's left is for this one fellow.
Right. This guy's got to. Mustama Oilam on the daf doesn't know how to eat marrow bones, anyways. Mustama, we got to.
What could you do?
Right. Okay.
Hey.
I know you know how. Anybody that wears a shiny jacket on Shabbos knows how. That's an automatic.
There you go.
100%. Where's Landau? Does Landau know how?
Probably not.
Anyway.
He's an exclusion to all rules.
There you go. Yeah, Ela Pshita the Isbu Mayach. It must be talking about where it has Mayach. So if you say that the Shemush of nosar is something, that's why you need Sreifa. That's why the bones need to be Sreifa.
Jacob, it's not so true. It's not so true anymore. All the high-end steakhouses now all serve the long marrow bone now on top of a.
No, Aaron, we know that. Come on,
I don't know that.
It's not new news.
Bring it out there.
The Queen of England eats marach. That's where it comes. She eats marach.
I didn't know that about the restaurants.
Used to be giving out the bones of free.
Yaakov, I have an article, a newspaper article on my wall with pictures of marach from 10 years ago. I have it on the wall next to my articles about the bourbon. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Only you would have those articles. I just want to point out.
But I have it opposite the skull of the Rebbe, so the Rebbe could see it because the Rebbe didn't,
There you go. Okay. So Eliyam Shemush nosar lamilsi, but if you say that the Shemush of nosar, meaning the bone is nothing, lamalu sreifa. Why do you need sreifa? When this nasperinu, right? Why don't you break it? V'nachlet salam mayach ditu v'nisrfei, and take out the mayach and burn it. V'nashtinu l'ditu, right? And then throw out the bones. Elolav, meaning why are you allowed to break the bones? Because once it's nosar, it's no problem. Elolav shma amino shemush nosar milsi. So it must be that the shemush of the nosar is something, and the bone itself is considered part of the korban, and then memela, it's what do you call it? You got to burn it. So then we say amri loy lamelach shemush nosar lam milsa. Really, shemush nosar is not anything. V'ksavar boy, bekashav afilu v'kasavar. It's he holds that boy, the lashon of boy in the pasuk means bekasher v'afilu b'pasal. It's for a kosher and even a puzzle. Right? Since you're not allowed to break the bones from a kosher, right? But 1 second, you're not allowed to bring the bones from the kosher, right? Vafilu b'puzzle. So we're saying even by a puzzle, right? So then 1 second. So Gemara said, "Afilu b'puzzle sagadaito." Does it mean even in a puzzle you're not allowed to break the bones? Right? V'atanan aval ha'maiser b'tar v'ashayver b'tamei. If you have extra. You have meiser by a tar, and you break it by a tamei, you don't get malchus. So what's the problem? Like kasha, so Gemara answers like kasha, kan shasa shasa kosher, kan shaloi haisa shasa kosher. One is talking about where the taka had time where it was going to be, where it was once mutter, and kan shaloi shasa kosher now talking about where it didn't have tamei from the beginning, so it was never mutter. Right? Then if that's the case, then there you're allowed to break the bone. So basically what the Gemara is saying right now is that when are you not allowed to break the bone? When it's tamei, that's when it was kosher at one point, then became tamei. So then the kedusha or the tahara, whatever it is, gets retained. So therefore you're not allowed to break the bone. But if it was never tar in the first place, so then now how that happens exactly, I'm not sure. It was tamei from the beginning, because when it's alive, it's not tamei. Can't become tamei. Right? Namakabel Tuma. So I don't know exactly how that works, but once it was tummy from that, then you
Rashi says Lefnei Zrika.
Rashi said Lefnei Zrika. Oh, yeah, Rataka, right? That's when you can forget these things, right? So it's a Lefnei Zrika, but okay, what's a pshat? Rashi's learning probably like the previous.
The korban became tamei.
That everything goes with the zrika, and before it is nothing. Very good. Shkoyach. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, we'll stop over here because the next kasha goes till Amud Beis. Tomorrow, what time? 4:35? 4:35, I guess, right? That listens 5:09.
No, it's later, no?
I thought I saw 5:09.
Hold on.
Yeah, last week was 5, so makes sense. Somewhere around there.
Okay, so 4:35 as the Shem. All right.
Hey, Ron.
Yeah.
So they made up, every brother and brother-in-law was throwing in $100 bill for the Seder. This other guy, the cheap guy, he only put in a $50 bill, and he wants to eat 9 kazesim.
He wants to eat 9 kazesim of the Myra.
Right.
Yeah. All right, a good Nacht, everybody.
Good Nacht.
All right.
A good Chodesh.
Good Nacht. A good Nacht.
A good Nacht. A good Chodesh.
Yankov. Done?